Follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Oh, yeah, Kayal and Company as we continue 8:30. It is a Wednesday morning, which means we are getting ready for the man with the Twitter ban, internationally known on the microphone, residing in the great state of Florida, where legends like Donald J. Trump and Ron DeSantis call home. It's the great Tony Bruno. What up, yo? Woo.
Good morning, and thank you for joining me today.
Yes. How are you?
By the way, we have to start this segment because I know this is what everyone's waiting for since they can't hear me on Twitter or see me on Twitter anymore. We have an update, and I know breaking news is important on this program and all others. We have a Twitter ban update, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
We are now at day 31 of my permanent suspension. When will it end? Will there ever be an adjudication? Will I have to call the Dominion Company to figure out how we tabulate and how you get responses to a permanent suspension, which is basically a real perm? You know when baseball players get banned for illegal substances?
Yeah.
And when, Pete Rose was banned forever. Well, that's still in effect for the most part. But, people are banned, and then all of a sudden they come back a year later.
Mm-hmm.
I've been banned, and this may be the first permanent ban ever that is being enforced. And I want to know, I need a lawyer. Well, I don't want to say that because there's a lot of lawyers in Philly, and they'll all be calling me today.
Now, do you feel better about your mental health that you're not on that cesspool known as Twitter?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But the problem is, I had 78,000 followers, and when I want to get the word out, I'm doing a show or I'm coming on with you, Facebook, I try Facebook, but it's just everybody telling everybody when their birthday is, and, the kids are born, and that's fine. Facebook's more like a community bulletin board. It's for people who don't want to call their relatives, so they just put stuff on their Facebook page so their relatives and friends can read about what they're doing in their lives.
Yes.
If I want my family and friends to know what I'm doing in my life, I'll call them. Or they'll call me, and then I'll tell them.
Or you'll just hit decline on the call button.
Exactly. I'm telling you, my new best friend that calls me every day, it used to be Scam Likely. But apparently Scam Likely is now going away, and now I have, what's the one that pops up, Robin, on my page every day, now my phone? It's Telemarketer.
Yeah.
It actually now has differentiated from Scam Likely to Telemarketer.
Well, it transitioned.
It transitioned, yeah.
But it is definitely his best friend because they call at least once a day to check up on
Yeah, nobody calls me. The only people that call me now are telemarketers. And remember we used to have you put this number, pound this, pound that, and then you don't get any calls anymore. Every time they try to find apps or things that keep these calls from coming in, more come in.
Yes.
Have you noticed that? The more they try to ban these people, why don't they use Twitter's algorithm and ban anybody who calls you?
Could Elon Musk end the spam call? 610.
I think he can. If he can sit down for another hour with Tucker Carlson, we can solve a lot of problems. But I like the alien part of it.
Yeah.
I do believe that there's no doubt Elon Musk is an alien.
Yeah,
I
there's
don't
no
think
question.
There's any doubt about it.
By the way, we're streaming live right now on YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. You can go over there and see the new HD camera that we have up there. It's beautiful. At 1210 WPHT on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button.
So, Bruno, is there
I
any...
got to do that. Is there a POV camera in the studio, Nick?
Only in the final hour, Tony, when things go off the rails. But we might need to implement it in the 8 o'clock hour every other Wednesday, if you know what I mean. So you mentioned Elon and artificial intelligence. You buying the fear porn that the media is trying to sell us on artificial intelligence, or is this an overreaction?
Well, I don't know if the media is. I mean, if one of the guys who was responsible for getting the AI stuff going, Elon Musk, is concerned about what nefarious things can be doing. Like the Chat GPT. What I found out is a lot of athlete friends, they use it to do their social media. Did you know that? I was talking to a former NFL player yesterday, and he says, oh, yeah, ChatGPT is great. Like, I don't have to go to my Instagram. I can just say this is what I want to do, and then ChatGPT will write the post for them. So there's one good use I've heard of. And I know people, you can do like write a poem and write poetry, and it'll write you an opera if you want to do it. It'll write a song. And so those are the things that are cool that people are now experiencing from it. But the concern, I guess, is that the government uses it for nefarious purposes. That's the whole thing. It's the U.S. government can use this, to basically tell us what to think, what to do. They already do now.
Oh, of course.
But it could be something that could lead to, wait a minute, I was going to say something that could lead to World War III, but the White House is doing that very well on their own. They need intelligence.
Yes.
They need real intelligence, not artificial intelligence.
I'm not going to get beyond
we get into a nuclear war.
Exactly. Joe's got that market locked down, Tony. Don't worry about
Absolutely.
it. We'll be there before you know it. Speaking of lockdown, Bud Light. What an interesting story. It's been 2 weeks since we had you on, and this thing broke, I believe, a few days after we had you on 2 Wednesdays ago. I cannot recall one company going through as much consistent, unrelenting, and, in my opinion, well-deserved pushback than Bud Light. So this is the first time we've had you on since then. What has been your take on the whole Bud Light, Dylan Mulvaney situation?
Well, obviously, everybody's talked about this for the last 2 weeks. And now you're seeing that they first came out and said, well, we're not really putting the Dylan Mulvaney's face on every Bud Light bottle. It's just a commemorative bottle for her. He, her, whatever she is, or he is, whatever he is, he's a superstar now, and so everybody's taking advantage of it to get to his audience. But I think the woman who works at Bud Light, is she still hired, by the way? When you cost your company, $5 billion, forget about the Dominion, not even $1 billion. When you cost your company because you came up with this, let's just appeal to the trans community, and you cost them $5 billion, how do you have a job? How do you still have a job?
And the greatest hypocrisy for Mrs. Heinerschneid, I think her last name is Heinerschneid.
Heinerschneid, yes, Alyssa Heinerschneid.
She was like, we got to clean up Bud Light's fratty image, yet pictures apparently are on the internet from years ago when she was in college, and she was the biggest sorority chick of all time.
She's blowing up condoms and drinking. She's drinking Rolling Rock. And nothing's wrong with Rolling Rock, brewed in the mountains up there in the Crystal Highlands, wherever that is. Rolling Rock is now but here's the thing. People think that they're hurting Budweiser, and obviously the company is being hurt. But the follow-up is after they say, well, it wasn't really, we're not putting her on all cans. It was just a commemorative can. And since people were out, listen, I never drank Bud Light only because the Budweiser products is not a philosophical issue. It's when I drink a Budweiser product, I get a headache. So there's something in the brewing. I think it's rice, or I don't know what they use. But it's not like I hate Budweiser or Bud Light. But I remember doing promotions, Nick, at radio stations. To come out with Bud Light night. And when I was there, I wouldn't drink the Bud Light. I would have to have an empty, a plain cup. So I would pour something else in it because I really couldn't drink like Bud Light, Michelob Ultra, all the Bud products. So it's not like I hate Budweiser.
Right.
But you see what they're doing now. They did an online commercial where they trotted out the Budweiser Clydesdale again. It's supposedly online. I don't know why they don't run those ads. So they're trying so desperately to say, no, we're still America's beer. Forget the frat boy stuff. They have the Clydesdale going through America, not the big horse with Augie Bush on the back like they used to do in St. Louis at Busch Stadium. I mean, they would trot out that Budweiser beer wagon, and remember Augie Bush would ride on it during the seventh inning stretch.
Yeah.
It was one of those great moments you have to realize. But now there's a commercial where the Budweiser Clydesdale going through all of the iconic locations in New York, Statue of Liberty, then it's in the Midwest. And so, yes, and then they go by a family, a man and a woman, pulling up an American flag in their backyard, one of them with their hand on their heart. So Budweiser is going in overdrive to try to tell the world that, no, we're not woke. We just have one moron that we hired to try to increase sales in a competitive world of light beers, but she destroyed our company. But by the way, don't criticize her. Now, my point is, and again, I'm not one to call for people's firings, but if you work for a company and you cost $12.10, a huge sponsorship deal, right?
Yeah.
You cost them millions of dollars in ad revenue. Would you still have your job?
I'd be gone, Tone.
Exactly.
Yep. Out of here.
And so I don't know what happened to her, but it's obvious that this is all on one person. You can't blame the entire company. You can't blame Dylan Mulvaney. You know, that's the problem here. So somebody's got to be held accountable, but you guys talk about it all the time. Nobody's held accountable anymore.
I agree. Tony Bruno joining us here for his every other Wednesday appearance. So let's get to the big story here in Philadelphia the last 2 days, Tony. Jalen Hurts cashing in big time. What is your reaction? Because think about this guy's last 6 years. He went from being benched at halftime of the national championship game by Nick Saban because he couldn't complete a forward pass, and he's now the highest paid player in NFL history on a per-year basis at $51 million a year. Tony Bruno, your thoughts?
Well, obviously people are going to look at other – one of the things we do in the world is we look at other people's salaries and try to say, well, how come I'm making this much and this guy's making that much? Because he produces revenue and he produced results. The bottom line is this guy went from, you mentioned, second pick, he was the backup, and people were questioning, why do you waste a pick on a quarterback in the second round when you got Carson Wentz, who you use a high pick to get? And so you're right. And remember, the guy that messed this all up was the Super Bowl hero coach, Doug Peterson, because when he didn't know what to do, remember, he botched the Carson Wentz finale, which hurt them temporarily. And so that all, we went from Doug Peterson will never have to buy a beer in Philadelphia ever again, even a Bud Light. and he would have to now, like, wow, Doug Peterson screwed up his last game as an Eagle coach when he was anointed as the greatest coach in history to bring a Super Bowl to the city. And now, Jalen Hurts comes in, and the guy's done a great job. The questions about can he throw the deep ball have been answered. The questions about he doesn't run all the time. So to me, that's what you do. You reward accomplishment. The guy took his team to a Super Bowl in his second year as a starter. So you live in a world now where they could have waited for Joe Burrow and all these other hotshot quarterbacks. But remember, Jalen Hurts has already exceeded what Joe Burrow has done as far as taking his team and leading them to the Super Bowl and winning their conference. Now, Burrow's been very good, but he hasn't taken that big step. Now, he went to a Super Bowl, of course, but to me, those are the guys that get paid.
Yep.
The people question quarterbacks who, have one good year or there's 2 good years. There's a lot of guys in the league who go take a step backwards. Now, will Jalen Hurts take a step backwards? I don't think so. I mean, they still have a good offensive line. They still have offensive weapons around him. And the bottom line is this, Nick. I think when the teammates and people around the league talk about, you know what, the Eagles did a great job here because the money is spread out in such a fashion that it's not going to hurt their cap number.
Right.
And they're now redoing other players' contracts who are – Tom Brady did it. Whenever you have a high-paid person on the list, but usually the quarterback, other players around that quarterback who believe in him will redo their contracts. So he's not being paid $50 million a year. It's going to be like $9 million in the first year. So it's cap friendly. It's not going to destroy the franchise. And to me, you got to pay a guy when you get him. We've seen quarterbacks get paid, for not doing or not advancing as fast as Jalen Hurts has.
Sure.
So I think he earned it. His contract was up. They wanted to get it done, and they got it done.
All right. Bonus Bruno, that's coming up next as we continue Kayal and Company. We'll get Tony's thoughts on the Sixers playoffs as well as the Fashion District curfew in the city of Philadelphia, and also a story that is right up Tony Bruno's alleyway. I got to end the interview with this question for Tony and possibly this answer when we come back. Stay there. It's Kayal and Company. The great Tony Bruno with us here on Talk Radio 1210 W.
it does not. See, I said I'm new at this, so I don't know what anything is yet. Well, it's so far not doing anything. Hello everybody, sorry about that last video, that was like a disaster. Trying to figure out the Chave Obey 4 without reading the instructions, so I was just like pushing buttons and nothing was working. So I thought, might as well try shooting this again. This time, instead of the two flap pucks or flap part pros, I'm not sure exactly which one I had, I set up all 6 of them around the room, and I DMX cable linked them all together going into the back of the Obey 4. I still don't understand all the features.
What are they going to? Who are they going to bring into the? Let me call somebody and pretend you're my parent. So, and then they'll get an older person. They'll actually go to a bum outside. That's what we used to do. You know, when you wanted liquor when you were underage,
yeah,
to be a guy outside the state store. We called them now. Now they're fine wines and good spirits.
Yeah.
You know, and you give them $1, and he go in there and buy you a bottle of cheap booze.
Right.
Now you go out. The kids will go up to a guy, guy down and out on the street, and say, hey, here's $1. Come in with me, pretend you're my parent. And then they both go in and start ransacking stores. I'm not trying to give people ideas out there.
Right,
but, I mean, there's always a way to beat the system, and that's what's going to happen here. Imagine 2:30 in the afternoon, you can't even go into a mall.
I know. I mean, they put this in perfect timing because they know when kids are out of school by 3:15 or 3:30, they're basically saying, you can go somewhere, but you can't come here unless you have an adult.
You know, it's sad. It's sad to see that. Going to the mall and hanging out used to be fun.
Yeah.
Now you go to the mall, you're worried about a riot breaking out. It's just ridiculous. I don't understand what's happening. Again, I'm an older dude. I have young grandkids now, or 3 and 1. You have young kids. You start wondering, what are these kids going to do next? Mm-hmm. And I know it sounds like the old man yelling outside of his window, but to me I don't ever remember a generation of kids, and I've been through many generations, that were this hell-bent on just going out and doing not just dumb stuff. All generations of kids do dumb stuff. I'm talking about destructive stuff, violent stuff, jumping on cars, breaking windows, going up to people and cold cocking them on the streets. It's just you don't know what to expect next. And I hope this turns around fast. We're worrying about beer cans. How about worrying about the population of America going crazy?
Yeah, well, this could be the side effect and the fallout of locking people up in 2020 and saying, you know what, I don't think you should go to school for the next couple of months because you might get COVID and kill grandma. Now, I think
or
we're
in
getting
Philadelphia, you might get asbestos. I mean, how many years are we dealing with, we need more money to get the asbestos out of schools. I mean, it's just a never-ending cycle of one thing after another. You had COVID, then you have the schools, and now the schools are closed, and now schools are closing because kids aren't going there.
Yep.
And and everybody keeps promising to make education better. We keep throwing more money at education in school buildings, and the education system is getting worse. So what's the answer? It's always throw more money at it, but I don't know the answer. If I knew the answer, I wouldn't be sitting here talking about, old guys figuring out how to stay horny.
Exactly
You know what I'm saying?
right. Which, by the way, Tony Bruno, new studies reveal that horny men live longer, which explains why you'll be around till you're 110.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. But just remember one thing about. Wait, I don't know what you're doing here. Robin's pointing at. Yeah.
Tell Robin we're talking about horny men.
We're talking about horny men.
What's she
I
pointing
am
at?
here now.
Robin's like, oh, this is the content I crave. All right, Robin, you want to do an update? Let's get to the horny update desk.
Well, I saw this story about the Japanese the Japanese study.
Yamagata University, Tony.
Me so horny.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Me so horny.
Yeah,
Me love you
long time. So, domo arigato, Mr. Yamagata University.
Yes,
Studied
21.
more than 20,000 people.
Yeah, how about that?
8,558 males and 12,411 females.
Yeah.
That's a good ratio right there.
Exactly
Why
right.
do they ask 12,000 females and 8,000 dudes for over a decade to examine the links between sexual interest and, quote, all-cause mortality?
Yeah.
It's basically they're saying now it's not just, low testosterone and all the other stuff that when guys get old. Yeah, you got low T, go buy these pills. Frank Thomas will come to your house and then say, and guys, she'll like it too. All these pills and stuff that we're giving guys who get older. Here in Florida, you just go to the villages because all the old people there are horny. Like the villages is known as like the STD capital of the world.
Is that
You've
right?
got a lot of horny old people there. I'm afraid to even drive by there, let alone go in there. So you got all kinds of old people getting frisky at 3 in the morning at the villages. These are documented stories. This isn't fake news. I'm not going to be sued by the villages like the Minion. They're not going to come after me because what I'm saying is absolutely indisputable, factually
I think the villages
correct.
put that as part of their advertising.
Come here and get chlamydia.
Exactly. I think you get it. You get one chlamydia case. You buy one and you get one free.
Come for the mashed potatoes and stay for the herpes.
Exactly.
Who wants a
they're saying
BOGO
men
STD?
Men with lower sex drives are lacking ikigai.
That's
ikigai.
right.
Hi.
All you
Ikigai is very
48-year-olds.
Ikigai. It's a Japanese term for the reason of having a life worth living.
Yes.
So it's not just about sex and libido. It's about if you don't have a life worth living, which pretty much is most of us right now as we get older. No, you just want to be healthy.
Yeah.
We need a zest for life, guys.
Yes.
That's what this story's about.
Exactly right.
Sex for life.
So
And I like there's one term here. What do they use this? They call this. I have to find this in the story, but it's an interesting story.
Yeah.
So now what are we going to do? We're going to have a pill to make your life better. Don't we have those pills already?
yeah, it's called
Don't
Adderall.
we have all these other? And everything's a drug to fix it. So sexual interest is basically linked to quality of life.
That's right.
That's what they're saying here.
Yes.
So even if you're a man and you're 70 like I am, and your interest in sex isn't what it once was, then you go and say, well, how's my quality of life? Well, let's see. I just had to file for a tax extension yesterday because I couldn't get my taxes done on time. I'm still waiting for a permit so I can build my dream house for the last 3 years. So quality of life, my quality of life is I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I go to see the doctor tomorrow to make sure I'm
You know
happy
what,
and healthy. What?
Tony? Maybe you can ask your doctor for a very special prescription.
What kind?
2 chicks at the same
Well,
time.
yeah, well, come on. I mean, that always
Chicks at the same time.
that always solves the problem. But hey,
My Lord. What is happening over
Hey,
here?
Uncle Sam, I don't have time to fill out my paperwork for taxes. I'm still working on this Twitter thing over here. But I'll get to you.
and it always happens at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I want to go to the mall.
Oh, no, come on.
All right, well, hey, look, next week, in a couple of weeks, the Sixers might be out of the playoffs. They'll have plenty of time to get to the mall. Looks like they're going to dust Brooklyn in the first round, Tony, but Boston's looming in the second round, and I'm very worried about that.
I mean, yeah, Boston. They're now the team to beat. With Giannis, of course, is hurt, and so the Bucks, you would think, are in trouble if he can't play at 100%. But you're looking around. I mean, we see The Knicks lost at home last night to Cleveland. Obviously Atlanta is done. Everybody thought the Atlanta Hawks were going to be an up-and-coming team, and you're seeing what's going on. I mean, the Clippers, all these teams are playing well, but the Sixers, and the Celtics right now, they've just made easy work. I know the Sixers struggled in the first half, but then they found ways to win. So the Sixers have a lot of the Golden State Warriors, who everybody was picking to win, are now down 2-0 to the upstart Sacramento Kings. And now they're going home, and Draymond Green's been suspended again for stepping on Sabonis on the floor. So, it used to be, and I said this last week on my show on Friday nights on No Filter Network, by the way. If you tune it in, check it out.
Right.
I said that this is the first year in the NBA in a long time. We're going into the playoffs. You can't definitively say which team is going to win.
Yep.
It used to be always, LeBron and the Lakers, they're supposed to win. Or the Golden State Warriors with Curry and the guys, they're going to win. But now, the Warriors are in trouble, down 2-0. The Lakers look good, but they're relying on backup guys, and they're coming through. So, really, right now, who's the team to beat? It's Boston, right?
Yeah.
Milwaukee's taken Atlanta's pretty much done.
Yep.
So the bottom line is, can you tell me who's going to win the NBA championship right now? We used to be able to pencil that in the beginning of the season.
I would like to see an NBA championship before I die, Tony. 1983, the last one for the Sixers. Your boy wasn't born until 1984. I've got 0 in my lifetime.
Wow. I saw the 67 team. That's how old I am. It was on black and white film. At the convention hall,
right?
And the arena, actually, the old arena on Market Street. But 83, I was covering sports in Philly, so I was there.
That's right.
For that championship, the parade, which was great down Broad Street.
On the great, that was what you were.
Parade,
83.
And of course, the Eagles parade and the Phillies parade. So I've been fortunate. I got to see all the teams win a championship. The Eagles one, of course, was the most long sought after one, but. That 83 parade, it's hard to believe. But look at the Knicks.
Yeah.
The Knicks haven't won since 1973
poor
an
New
NBA
York.
championship.
Exactly.
That's hard to believe, isn't it? When you look about New York and all the pressure to win and all the money and coaches and players they bring in.
Yep.
So, Sixers 83, the Knicks 73. The Knicks are now evened up in their series. But you're right. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets have basically self-imploded. And nobody thought that they were going to win this series. I mean, this was a lock.
That's correct.
But, you look at some of these other teams, Nick, right now, could the Lakers catch fire and win the NBA championship again? Who knows?
I hope not. I hate LeBron James. But anyway, that's a different story for a different day. Tony Bruno, great stuff as always, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. And remember, in the words of a now rejuvenated, a man without a body double, the great John Fetterman back in action.
Hi. Good night, everybody.
All right, Tony, good stuff. And stay horny, my friend.
I'm going to get some horny goat weed today at the mall.
Exactly. You can use it tomorrow on 420. Tony Bruno joining us live from Florida. Fourth and final hour. Kayal and Company coming up next here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.